He was okay. I mean, he hasn't played football in 2 years basically, so missed all last season. So, I think there were some times where he flashed and showed some things that he's capable of. But I think he as well as Coach Pelham and Coach Al will say the same thing, that he needs to continue to improve and get better. But for his first time out there, game speed against a real tough offense to diagnose a lot of things. There's a lot of moving parts in Nevada's offense. So I thought he did a decent job, but we hope he'll continue to grow from there. So.
Turning punts and kicks.
Injuries. Kenyon Barner's out right now, and Cliff was out. So you got to pick some other guys, and Josh Huff is a returner for us, but's been out a little bit. So there's a slew of guys that are back there practicing. But I mean, you've been to camp, you watch us in camp. All those guys are back there in camp, and not a lot of those guys have been available in the first couple of games. So I don't know about that. I mean, we don't do things to display guys for that, but I think it helps us as a football team when obviously you have a kid that's that dangerous, a returner with the ball in his hands, and it's been done here for a while. Jonathan Stewart was a great kick return guy, and did some really good things in the kick return game. So did Jeremiah Johnson. The fact that LaMichael is that versatile really just speaks to his athleticism. So that symbol itself means a lot. I mean, I think there's an instant recognition and identification of the O, just if it's on someone's shirt, or if it's on the side of the stadium, or if you're just walking through an airport. And I've heard people tell stories about being in Europe and saying all of a sudden you see that, and that O is a distinctive O. So, but going back to that, I believe in the celebration rule, and our players, we teach our players to celebrate as a team, and we spend time showing video from other teams on how they do it. But I'm not getting caught up in any of that, and I've not received any phone calls from the Pac-12, so that's kind of a moot point to me.
Have you told your guys to?
I haven't talked to my guys about anything. We don't talk about that. We tell our guys one thing: when you score a touchdown, you celebrate as a team, because you're not the only guy that got yourself in the end zone. If it's a receiver, then that means that we had an offensive lineman blocking for you, and quarterback gave the quarterback time. We always want to celebrate as a team, and I think that's a big thing for us. And if you watch our guys do it, I think they really get excited, whether it's a big play on defense or whether it's someone scoring a touchdown. There's a lot of guys getting around there and celebrating, because this is a fun game, and you should enjoy that. And I think any undue attention that you call to yourself, no matter what it is, that's not what we're all about. All of our celebrations should be as a team, and that's what we emphasize to our players. I do care. Good question. I do care who I play, but it's one of those deals where you can have a philosophy that's this, but to implement that philosophy is very difficult. As I said earlier before you came in, we were scheduled to play Utah this weekend, and then when Utah came into the league and the schedule got all jumbled, and when it ended up in the end we weren't going to play them, they went off the schedule. And then we were scrambling, and there were only X amount of teams out there that had September 17th open, and it was with less than a year to go. I think we finalized this game, I don't know if it was in February or March of this year. So there's always an ideal philosophy. We'd like to do this and we'd like to play that. But what I think people don't realize is scheduling is a lot harder as I started to get involved in it. And obviously it's done it, with Rob and those guys. But then they always ask me, can we play these guys or those guys? But every odd year, we're only going to have 4 conference games. So then to say we want to go 1-1-1, well, are we going to go on the road to play a game when we need to play 3 conference? We need to play 3 opponents at home, because there's also revenue aspects of it, as how many home games are you having, and they're planning your whole entire athletic budget based on 7 home football games. Well, we want to play School X. Well, School X is going to ask for $1.1 million to come in here, when School Y is going to ask for $500,000 to come in here. So that's where it becomes a difficult situation on who you want to play. In a situation like this, no one's going to play a 1 game on the road and just a one and done. And if that becomes the case, your pool of who's going to come in a one and done situation gets a lot smaller. I enjoy playing at Michigan. I loved playing at Tennessee. I love playing the supposed neutral site game in Dallas. But if you do that, then there's the catch-22 for the fans. We all want to play the big games, but we're not going to play any at home. And I said it last week or whatever. There's not a lot of people that when we say we've got these dates open are saying we'd love to come to Autzen Stadium. And that's the tough part with it is how does that whole thing match up? And who will come? And with all this conference realignment that keeps going on, half of the schedules keep getting thrown out the window. So then, are you going to have to start again and saying who are our out-of-conference opponents? But if it comes to playing big games, we love to play them. We played at Boise, we played at Michigan, we played at Tennessee, we played LSU, we played those games. I would love to play some of those people back here. But it's not that, and I'm not saying those guys don't want to come back, but they're in the same scheduling problems too, that they need to get X amount of home games. But if everybody played home games on the weekend, we'd all just be having a spring game and no one else would be going anywhere. So it's not as easy as people say in the philosophy of one hard, one easy, whatever. I'm not in tune to that. I really believe our team 2 years ago grew because of the experience at Boise, and we probably benefited from that, even though it was a loss. So I don't know really what the philosophy in terms of how we'll move forward, but I want to play in big games, but I also would like to play some big games in Autzen Stadium. So if you guys got connections, help us. I don't know that. I don't know enough about scheduling to say the days of the home and home with schools are over, to be honest with you. I know Alabama and Penn State played one the last 2 years, and it worked out with them. It really just depends on the individual institution. And then hypothetically, I'd like to play Manchester United. I totally believe in that. And when you have a mature football team, that's how they approach it, is that we respect every opponent we play, but we fear none. And we've always said that. But that doesn't mean when you look at it, well, we're going to practice really hard this week because all of a sudden we're playing Stanford. It shouldn't change, and your approach shouldn't change. And I think that the last year, and we used it, when you looked at Steve Prefontaine when he ran, he didn't care who he ran against. He was going to run as hard as he can for as long as he can for as fast as he can. And he believed any other way was chicken something, if you watch the movie. And that's the way it has to be when you have a good football team, is that we're going to prepare, and we talk about playing 12 faceless opponents. We'll go against schemes and understand all that stuff. But if your life is governed by, well, this game's really big, so I'm going to practice really hard this week. This game isn't that big, I'm not going to practice, then you're setting yourself up for failure. So we have an attitude here, and I hope our kids understand it. The one thing you worry about with a young team is how they are. The last 2 days, they've been good. We practiced really well yesterday, and that excited me about this group. But in this game, you only get 12 opportunities, and it's different than any other sport. That baseball mentality, which I love it sometimes, is they can shake stuff off because they got another game. They may have a doubleheader. No, I mean, I don't think people don't come here because of the size of the stadium. I think they come here because we have the best fans in college football, and it's a very, very tough venue to play in. So I think if you expanded it, I don't think they're going to say, okay, now that you expanded it, we want to come. That just means that we're going to have about 20,000 more screaming, crazy, lunatic Oregon fans. It may make it worse, to be honest with you. So I just want our fans, to be able to see games at home, and we love playing at home. And if you look at our record over the last 4 years, it's pretty good at home, and there's a reason for that. It's a tough place to play. I know Chris Pearson has the same problem. People don't want to go to Boise. And there's a reason they don't want to go to Boise. I think everybody has that problem no matter who you are. I don't think people are knocking the door down to say, hey, I'd love to go play at Happy Valley. I know everybody usually has a pretty good home field advantage, but I don't think people not coming here has anything to do with the size of our stadium. I think it has to do that it's a real tough place to play us just because of the track record and because of the fans. And when you listen to people talk about how loud it is for the opposing team and how many delay of games the opposing team usually takes, how many timeouts the opposing team takes, how many illegal procedures the opposing team takes, that's the things that I think prevent some people from wanting to come here, is that it's a tough venue to come in as the away team no matter where you are. So